first AI native sales platform. AI agents don't just automate tasks.
Should be zero, right? The minute someone shows interest, we should be able to talk to them. I wrote the paper for us on this adaptive neurobehavioral scoring system.
We welcome Joe Gagnon, a seasoned marketing strategist, growth leader, and podcast host shaping the future of content and branding with years of experience scaling startups. He brings sharp insights, bold ideas, and real-world lessons to every conversation. Let's dive in.
I think we've over-exaggerated the whole AGI thing. It's going to be a pet of a robot. It's never too early to get your financial house in order. I started a data room when I start the company. Are the artifacts that you would need to share with any lender, any potential investor, any board member, so they would see the financials of the company, right, in a secure place. We're going to show this end-to-end autonomous selling process working, scheduling, payment without a person. We're going to make it so autonomous selling way before autonomous driving ever comes true. Define as your purpose, we'll create a vision. From that vision, you have to have confidence in who you are and what you're doing. Positivity is, let's enjoy this journey.
Hey everyone out there, my name is Alan Chen, CEO of FreeCashflow.io. Welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to uncover the secrets behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their growth, the challenges they overcome, and how they master their finances. Our goal, to help you achieve the same success while maximizing your profit. Let's dive in. Today's guest is someone who lives at the cutting edge of technology, leadership, and human potential. Joe Gagnon is the CEO and co-founder of RainMaker, and he's on a bold mission to revolutionize how small businesses sell. With a career that spans high-level leadership and deep innovation, Joe is now spearheading the development of the first AI-native sales platform where AI agents don't just automate tasks, they talk, close, schedule, and sell, all with the lifelike nuance of a human voice. This is the future of sales, and Joe is leading the charge. Buckle up. This is going to be a game-changing episode. Joe, welcome to the show.
Alan, thanks for having me. I like that intro. That's how we feel every day. Game-changing.
Yeah, hey, I want to get you pumped up before we get the conversation going, you know? Yeah, so Joe, for those who don't know you, can you just share a little bit more about your background, what really inspired you to start your business here?
Yeah, you know, it's too long of a story to tell the whole thing, right, Alan? So I'll just do it like this.
Sure, yeah.
I was like the first half of my career I spent more in traditional software, large systems, big companies, enterprise platforms. And then the second half, I sort of took the path of entrepreneurship. And this is the sixth time that I've been either a founder, co-founder, or taken over from a CEO. And in each of those, it was the idea of taking some kind of sort of next generation technology and bringing it into the B2B to C process. So something that would affect a consumer's life, but sold from a business to a business. And so that could be anything from, you know, how we do email and text to now today, how we use AI and leverage that. So, you know, what inspired us in this space is like, of all the tech shifts that we've seen over the past 30 or 40 years, there's nothing more profound than what AI can do. And at the same time, I feel like small businesses always get sort of left behind because their capital structures are not that supportive. They're not technical. They just want to deliver their service. And we thought, wow, imagine if we could bring this really deep, rich, and robust capability in the process, by the way, that none of them want to do, which is selling. They want to deliver. What if we could actually democratize that kind of capability, make it an investment that isn't too expensive, that gives them amazing capability and helps them transform their lives? You know, we think of it always like help them achieve the American dream, then that would be worth doing. So we've been at it. Started last summer. We have one of our early releases out in the market and our big release coming out in November. And we're just thrilled about how this is all working.
This is super exciting, Joe, right? And I think it's much needed space right now. Joe, can you kind of like go in a little bit more detail or share a story about kind of like the ups and downs of this new star venture that you have? I'm sure there's a lot of great stories in between.
Oh man, you know, like the entrepreneur in me embraces discomfort. Let's just say that from the beginning. You know, I'm sort of used to that. So sometimes people think I, you know, don't really get it because it's hard. I like hard. So sometimes I've missed the point that in the beginning, you know, your software never works as well as you would like. And people fuss and, you know, they tell you this should be better. You know, in AI, you know, last summer we were trying to do voice and the latency wasn't working well and it was making mistakes in the conversations. And, you know, we had to step back a little bit and really rethink how far along we were. But there's also a lot of embedded concepts that we're breaking. Like speed to lead's always been a big deal in small and medium business. Like the faster you get to a lead, the higher the probability. Well, our imagination has us at it should be zero. Right, the minute someone shows interest, we should be able to talk to them. And so we've been working on getting that running, and then more broadly integrating service and sales together. Right, and so all of that says we've been pushing on the envelope of technology, trying to go as fast as we can with as least people as possible. It makes for some long days. Every once in a while, you just got to remind yourself that you're doing the right thing. This is going to benefit these companies. The early adopters understand that. Will the early majority and the late majority get to it? Of course they will. But you just got to, it's like I do a lot of trail running. And if you fall and scrape your knees, you don't stop. It's sort of annoying.
Right.
And that's what happens in software. You got a bug, you got to fix it. You fix the issue. Customers know you're in this for the long run. So yeah, there's some ups and downs, but the vision, the opportunity, the curiosity to see how it's going to work, the inspiration that comes from it. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, that's incredible, Joe. So folks in the audience out there love real life examples, right? So say you're selling to me, right? I'm the founder of Free Cash Agency. We help, online entrepreneurs with their bookkeeping and tax filing. So we will love, more of those type of customers, right? Those target audience. So if we use your certain Rainmaker, right? We incorporate it into our service. Does that mean like when they come on our website, maybe they chat with it like an AI chat box kind of thing, and then they can take it to that next level where they can actually call them up and, to complete the sale possibly? Like, is that far enough or not far enough in how this process will work?
No, that's a good representation. So think about it, like for right now, we don't do the marketing part, which is go buy the lead. But the minute you have the lead, whether it was some Google paid search or a web lead, or someone saw you on a billboard for all we know.
Yeah.
Once that
From a
lead
podcast,
is
right?
created, right, from the podcast. Once that lead is created, you would transfer that lead to our platform, and our platform would start working. And the first thing it does is it scores that lead. And we've been working on this adaptive neurobehavioral scoring system. So we start to understand the intent behind the action in creating the lead, where someone is in the life cycle. We score from a 1 to 10. Based on that scoring, we then decide how to route it. If it's a 1 to a 3, we probably nurture it some more because it needs more information. But the minute it gets to 5 or 6, we then route it to the offer stage. So here we start to qualify it. Make sure you got the budget, make sure it's the right timing, that you have the authority to make a decision, all these core qualifications. If you meet those qualifications through the dialogue that you're having, either through text or voice, we would then be able to make an offer to you because you showed some interest. So, how much does it cost? How long would it take? What do I need to do? And our AI is having this dialogue. Now, the way that our AI knows is, one, we would take a lot of your content and we would consume it into our large language model. We would create these RAG prompts, this retrieval augmented generation. And so the combination of that creates the dialogue so that our AI can have the dialogue with your customer. Now, if that customer showed interest, we could do one of two things. We could schedule a follow-up appointment with you guys if it needed more detail. But if you imagine you had a package that said it was $1,000 a month to get these kind of accounting services that are very well defined, we could then make that offer. And if they say yes, we can then send them a payment link. They can hit the Stripe account, make the payment. We then assemble all that content. We email all that content to you and a file that you can implement and integrate into your CRM. And you got it end to end from the lead through the closed sale. That is the way the platform works.
That sounds incredible, Joe, right? So we get leads all the time that come into our website, just ask a few questions about accounting related topics, right? But then that's it. That's the end, right? And then they leave our website, right? But it sounds like in this case, we can just collect some, some basic contact information about them, like a phone number or email. We can continue that sales nurturing process with them, right? Do email or do chat, what other means like that, right? Until we,
It's even more profound. The minute they're on that page and they show some interest,
right,
we'll have a button that will say, "Talk to me now." They'll push the button and they could have a live conversation right then. They don't have to wait for follow-up.
So it'll be like an AI agent having a conversation with them.
right then. Yes.
Like,
Because
and
this
then it
is,
will sound very human-like,
of
and they will,
course,
oh,
completely. Yes. And
incredible.
in brand voice that you want it to be in. And we could even conceivably, if you wanted to have like the Ohio accent, which is like the normative accent in the US,
The American accent, like the Midwestern, right?
exactly, versus the Southern or the Boston accent, we
Right.
can pick that also. The cadence of the conversation, the amount of latency required, all of these are settings that are allowing us to have a lifelike dialogue. Now, if you're really savvy, you might say, I think this is an AI. But let me tell you what, by the time next summer rolls around, I'll bet you our mortgage payments that there's no way you could ever tell the difference. The
It's getting really
improvements,
good.
unbelievable. I like it's. We did one with a pizza chain the other day, and in the middle of it, the AI just made a joke about something, like a dad joke. Like it just came out of the blue, and we were all just chuckling, and it made it so comfortable to the person. And like this is up leveling. Like so, if you hired the best salesperson to do these things, it'd be great. But imagine you needed 10 of them. You probably wouldn't get 10 of the best, even if you wanted them. We
Yeah,
can
it'd be quite
up-level,
expensive.
right? We can up-level them all to what you would define as the best, right?
Mm.
So they can all execute consistently in the brand voice with the content you want. Now, the other thing that's really important is observability. So you want to know what's going on. So we have transparency. We could listen to recordings. We can run reports against it. We can look for patterns. There are guardrails that are put in. Don't do this. Don't do that. Like we've had some pretty crazy calls that are, not ones we should be talking to the person, and we can reroute them and say, no, you probably should be talking to 911 or something, So, but all that matters to having this be as effective and then ultimately better than what any human could do. Because, of course, it's also 24/7. So if at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning, someone wants to find out about your services, they can. And you don't even have to be awake.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I was thinking about like the whole accent thing you're talking about, Joe. Like it'd be so cool if like they know that this guy's from Boston and you just match up with a Boston AI agent, right? And they're like, oh, this feels very familiar and comfortable, right? Or a New York accent, right? It's very distinct,
Right.
right? You'd be like, they'll talk to them in that kind of voice.
And the other thing that's really interesting is, sometimes we hear an accent and we can't interpret it well enough. The AI doesn't hear accents. It only hears the tonation and the words. So it gets it perfectly. It never matters on the inbound, but we can match the outbound, of course, in the dialogue.
That's amazing. Any financial challenges, Joe, that you kind of had to overcome in building Rainmaker?
Yeah, I think we're still in that process. Look, every AI company is in like one part of the hype cycle of, cost to run. Compute is expensive still, comes down all the time. Look, OpenAI isn't making any money yet, right? Nor is Anthropic. But the costs keep coming down and the conversations are getting more efficient. So that part is fine. We know what the target gross margin should be in the 75% range. And the length of the call does eat up compute. So yes, you pay more, but we're on top of it. It's a little bit like every new technology platform. Like, the iPhone makes Apple a lot of money. In the beginning, it was an expensive product to make. Here we are at the Apple 17, and, they're just pumping cash into their pockets. So
For sure.
I'm not really worried about us making money as much as I am trying to show the world a different way of having a dialogue around selling that frees the owner, small business operator up from having to do the hardest part of the business, which is sell to customers.
Very interesting that part, Joe. Where do you kind of envision this working out for a small business in the next 3 to 5 years? Like, what is the vision board, right?
Yeah. It's a little bit bold, but that's our fourth of our core values, being bold. Think of it this way, right? So the consumer who you're selling to just thinks about you one dimension, right? The company. So that means that service and sales come together. So a platform will do both. There are people who sell sales and someone sells service. We think they're both. On the lead side, the smarter we get about which of those leads matter, the more we will move up the funnel to the top of the funnel and help you with lead management. And then I think I would even challenge that CRM in the future goes away because we have all the data about your customers. We follow them and track them from a lead. We have all the data stored in our database. we're not trying to be a system of record, but we actually have system of record data, no payment and all that pushes back to your core accounting systems. But the future vision is you have one platform to optimize so we say spend less, sell more, and do it predictably. That's the vision. And, to do it at a nominal amount of money to make it easier for the small business owner so it's predictable is amazing. I mean, you think about, their business goes up and down, tariffs this, interest rates that, demand is high, demand is low. Their lives are consumed, right? They just want to have a good, solid business, and we want to help support that. And they don't need to have 5 different platforms they're trying to integrate. So over the next 1, 3, 5 years, we're going to have all those dimensions and make it really be easy. Push one button, make it work, make your life better.
Amazing. Like what I'm hearing, Joe, is you're going to topple, Salesforce in 3 to 5 years time.
I
I
told
think
them that.
Larry over there is I think he's the richest. I think he's the richest man in the world right now, right? I think the stock just hit a huge jump, so I think he'd be moved up
Oh,
in the
yeah,
rankings. So
I think that they're all trying to do something somewhat similar. The problem, if we look back to, the innovator's dilemma, crossing the chasm, all of these concepts that the mature and embedded companies have a harder time innovating. We don't have a hard time innovating. We're creating the next version. When Salesforce came out, they were trying to take over from spreadsheets and green bar paper, and they grew to 25 billion or whatever the heck they are. We have the same opportunity to rethink, not try and pave cow paths here, right? We're saying there is a fundamentally different way to think about how to go find a customer and how to optimize the conversion of that. Find a lead, optimize that into a customer, and then maintain that over time. That is, our big vision.
yeah, no, that sounds like it's such an exciting thing to kind of work towards, right? In the next few years. Joe, how do you kind of approach the pricing strategy for a product like this, right? Which kind of blends AI technology with human-like interactions. I'm sure there's a lot of consideration about, users versus fixed SaaS kind of type of pricing options.
Yeah. SaaS has got under pressure, right? It used to be a lot of per seat pricing and, like if you ran a call.
Yeah, it's a little saturated, right? There's so much SaaS out there.
Right. So we think about, we're not going to do commission because no one really likes paying commission. So let's just put that off the table. So we have this idea of a fixed monthly payment. And if you go over a certain volume, then you pay for additional usage. It's easy to know. So we map that first payment directly to kind of volume we expect from you. But this is we're talking about pricing that goes from $500 to $1,000 a month, not big money. I mean, if you only have a $100,000 business, maybe that's a lot. But any of the more small, medium businesses, they could tolerate that. It's less than a person for sure. If your leads go through the roof and we're processing a lot more, then, we would then have an additional fee for those. But for the most part, it's very predictable. And so what we want to do is what some others have done in pricing in history. There was a time when making phone calls, the long distance phone call was more expensive. And then AT&T said with the cell phone, one rate anywhere, right? You used to pay for text. We don't pay for texts. We want to do something similar in the pricing for a sales platform for a small business. Very predictable, nominal amount of investment that delivers massive kind of return. And so we're going to be bold again. And our goal here is, of course, always to be profitable. Every commercial entity should be, but it's not to take advantage of small and medium business, but rather support them.
No, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like if a business is small, they start with your lowest plan, I'm sure, right? But then as soon as they see some ROAS, like some return on investment, right, from there, a couple of leads that signed, they're like, "This is amazing. This is great. I will want to grow with RaYnmaker in that way, right?" And it makes sense for all parties involved, right, in that way. So totally makes sense to me as a consumer over here. And then Joe, what roles do kind of like partnerships and strategic alliance play in your growth strategy?
Yeah, so one is we are going to be an integrated platform. So we can integrate in the beginning with a lead management system. We'll integrate with CRM. We'll integrate with payment. We have a bunch of APIs we're published and subscribed, so we fit in that ecosystem. We also know that there are industry groups, especially in small and medium business, that like to recommend to their counterparties platforms and systems that they believe are good for them. So we will look for those as channel partners. And then, there is a world where we'll do some together marketing with a lead company or a CRM company so they can provide the end-to-end solution until we have the complete solution. So we like fitting into an ecosystem. Even if we have big ambitions, we think it's okay to sit alongside others, right? Always.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like it's a win-win situation for all the partnership companies involved, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like you need both pieces usually and both tech stacks usually to run a successful startup, right? That
That's right.
depends. It's very has a very sales dependent motion right in the front end. Yeah, Joe. So yeah, I know you've been in the space for a while. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs looking to raise capital in the competitive AI space today?
Yeah. Like, what's novel about what you're doing? You can't just put a wrapper around an LLM. I wrote the paper for us on this adaptive neurobehavioral scoring system, right? That has a lot of novelty in it relative to understanding the essence of, we think about human decision making that starts from sort of we'll call it the firmware is your instinct, things you know when you're born. Intuition is what you know without conscious awareness. And then the insight is the derivative of all that you learned. And so we want to enable each of those different human decision-making states in the software. So that's novel. That sits in front of what the LLM will do. We're also working on creating what we're calling the Rain Brain. So it's a novel component
Good
that
rhyme.
brings this information together to help you make a better decision. We're shifting selling from something that's perceived as pressurized into something that's seen as complementary and supportive. And so I would say to anyone thinking about getting into the AI space, think of what you believe is fundamentally different. You can leverage technology like 11 Labs, or you can leverage technology like, OpenAI and all of that. But you got to have something that's fundamentally not the same as everyone else. The second thing is, always, put a proof of concept together, get in the hands of people as soon as possible, and get some real reaction. There's nothing like direct feedback, even when people are critical. The third is, once you have your vision established, don't let anyone knock you off your pedestal. You got to hold to it. The world's always trying to sort of tell us not to do something. My whole life has been sort of setting my own path and living sort of this intentional life, both personally and professionally. But you have to have that sort of sense of confidence in yourself and in your vision, and that makes. And then last thing is, build a team of people who are similarly inspired to go do what you're doing and, enjoy it. Like, this is a privilege and fantastic. And like, as I tell everyone, I'm on vacation every day because I couldn't be happier and enjoying myself more.
No, that's the best way to enjoy a startup, right? Like, why become an entrepreneur if you don't actually have the freedom to enjoy the product that you're building, right? You kind of lock in that 9-to-5 mindset again. Right?
Yeah. My
and
wife
like,
is that.
hmm?
I was just saying, I don't believe in a balanced life personally. I think that's a excuse for mediocrity. I think that the integrated life, there's 168 hours in the week, Alan. Like, how do you use them? I don't separate them into work and not work. It's all one, right? It is this dynamic and interconnected experience, which makes me better. So this morning I was writing a paper at 5 a.m. before I went for a run and then went to a meeting. And then it just all combines together, the thinking, the inspiration, the intentionality. I mean, it is up to me how I want to show up every day. And when I show up that way, then great things happen.
That's some great lessons there, Joe. Like, and then leading into that, my next question was going to be like, how do you kind of define success in your business and personal life? Like, it seems like it's pretty integrated and intertwined there. Am I right?
Yeah. I have been, like, as I mentioned before, the first half of my career was really the first half of my life. All I did was work, and then the second half, I expanded my horizon and opened the aperture. So I became ultimately an ultra endurance athlete. I became a writer. I became a coach and a creator. and then continue to be an entrepreneur. And so all of that together, every year I sort of set out with a set of objectives that I measure myself to. So my success is, defining an inspired future. I wrote a book just recently called Living Intentionally. So I have a deep level of a purpose. I have a set of pillars that are the foundation for how I live. I've mastered reflection so that I really understand what's happening around me. And I embrace discomfort probably as good as anyone possibly can. When you do that, the noise goes away and all you do is hear and feel the signal, right? And so that is what intentionality brings you, because you have the plan, you know why you're doing it. When you execute on it, it all just makes sense. So we redefine, like the goal isn't the milestone, right? The goal is the beingness, the who we're becoming the path, not being on the path. Right? It's saying that happiness is not episodic. It's a state of mind, right? These are the things that, I love the word failure and discomfort and suffering and difficulty. Like those are the things that get me excited, right? Because those are the pathways to growth. And so when you bring that all together, all this seems magical, really. And, I always sort of wish that everyone had the same, sort of game level 7 feeling that I have. I've gone past lots of game levels and it's like, wow, this is pretty darn good. I have nothing to complain about, only just things to be grateful for.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to take a step back, right? With your sport analogy there, like it's game 7. You're going to be naturally nervous. Adrenaline's going to be pumping, right? It's like if there's a possibility of taking a step back, keep your composure, that's really how you're going to get your best performance out of you, right? During those game 7 moments, right?
Yeah,
those that are spiraling and thinking about the big moment and, they kind of shrink, right?
When you get up to the plate, or if you get to the line when you're running, or you get to a pitch, the single point you should make to yourself is, I know how to do this. There's no questioning at that moment. You wouldn't be in that situation if there was some questioning. And the minute you do that, then all of your capabilities come back out, right? You've cleared the path to be the best version of yourself. But if you get up and do your pitch and you're wondering, then, you should be wondering
that's
why
when you
you're
kind of get
wondering.
in your head, right? Which, pitchers do sometimes. And, they could be a great pitcher, but in one game, they just, give up 6 runs in the first inning because they're just in their head about it, right?
Yeah.
They get rattled.
And so I work on that every day. And, you have to, doesn't mean we don't take feedback, by the way. Look, I love feedback, but you got to try and understand where that feedback's coming from. Was it an insecure person who didn't want you to, I have people telling me, Alan, I've written for 4,700 days in a row, a blog every day. And I've written 2 books. And so people say, when are you going to stop writing? And I'm like, well, I don't think that's the right question. But the reason you're asking me that question is because it makes you feel bad. I'm not here to make you feel bad. I am not. I'm doing my thing. And so I don't have an end date on it. This is who I am. My writing is my thought process, my meditation, my deep dive into understanding how my value system shows up every day. And so in that, it'd be almost like saying, so when are you going to die? No, we don't go down. Sure, we will, but that's not the question either. So but when you have deep level of purpose defined, then all of this makes so much more sense. And it's just why I feel like, look, I've been, CEO of early stage companies 6 times now. And you think that could wear you out. And I think it makes me more excited. I'm never going to be done, because we get one walk through this life. We better make it the best we can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's a great point. One thing that I would love to get a little bit more insight from you, Joe, before we move on to the next topic is, how do you really see the philosophy of AI right now in the marketplace, right? A lot of people have varying spectrum of opinions on it, right? Some people find it, the accelerator advancement we have, quite dangerous, right? Because if left unchecked, a lot of consequences can come from it, right? And I'm sure the LLM is very thankful of blogs like yours that's feeding it a lot of original content information. But again, that comes to my point, right? It's taking things, but is it really understanding, or is it hallucinating, right? At some point, right? Where the other end is well, this is what is going to advance humankind, right? There's all this manual work that when you spend all this human, people have to work, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? It's It's like mandatory in people's mind that it has to happen. But AI is supposed to take that away from them. Like possibly people in the future only have to work 2 days a week, right? That's a possibility. The AI agent take over all part of the work process. Why would you need to work 5 days a week? Like, doesn't make sense to me. Like, where are you on the spectrum of AI is incredible, amazing. We need this for advancement of humankind first. At some point, AI can be quite dangerous and posing, right, on the way we live.
I think it's the same kind of issue we've dealt with throughout all humanity, by the way. We're in charge, so we should get the outcome we want. I'm not afraid of some AGI taking over the world and killing all of us. I mean, we did
Terminator style, yeah.
Yeah, we did invent the nuclear bomb, and we're still here. So for the most part, we're relatively responsible. But I think each of us have to bring that responsibility. So I think AI is an amazing enabler of initially augmentation on the way to some autonomy. But my gosh, the more time I have, the more I can do. It isn't like I'm doing less. I'm writing more. I'm helping more people. I'm showing up better. Like my skill and delivery is way better than it ever was, and the same with the company. So I think we're going to be able to get to some of the hard problems we have not been able to resolve. Like, why does it cost us $5 trillion to have healthcare in the United States? Maybe it should cost us $2 trillion and be healthier. How would you solve that problem? Not with the current systems, right? How would we solve for education in the United States so that we don't have 1 million kids dropping out of high school every year? You could solve that with AI. We could solve so much. So I am not afraid at all of people just working 10 hours a week because we're going to work on some hard problems we haven't solved. The second is individual responsibility or company responsibility. So I wrote the Rainmaker Constitution. It's a set of, values and commitments that we're making to our customers to be responsible parties to the way the AI shows up. And so that is published. It's on the website. It tells people that we have observability and transparency, that we make sure that this works the way it's designed, and we intervene if it doesn't. We're always watching and understanding. We've built guardrails, and we make sure that bad things don't happen. All of us need to say that, right? And we need to say that and follow through on it. It's the same as healthy living. And so, to me, I think we've over-exaggerated the whole AGI thing. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, if it comes, it comes. But I'm not going to be a pet of a robot. Right? That's not going to happen. I don't think that's the case. I think I spent a lot of time, this book, Living Intentionally, on this idea of what is human consciousness. Look, AI does not feel anything. In the feeling system, the 5 senses we have and the way that we're connected to nature and to the earth allows us to have intuition and understanding that an AI can't. It's just replicating what we do. Even if it's generating something, it's only generating off of what we've already done, not something novel or new. It might look that way, but that's only because you don't understand it, not because it actually is. And so that part tells me it's just the hype stuff that people are interested in. We like hype. We like newsworthy information. So I think that the most important part for us to think about is how do we put this great technology to use for the betterment of society, of individuals, of all collectively, right? Not to consolidate wealth in the top 6 people in the world, not to make a bunch of billionaires more billions, but to improve the lives of everyone. That's why we're working on small businesses. It's not to become billionaires. This is to take the 30 million small businesses in the United States and have people really feel like they are living the American dream because they can sit at their kid's soccer game and they can watch and not be sitting on their phone. They can have predictability so they can have a nice holiday party. Like whatever it is, we want to be able to bring that. And so to me, the abundance that we live in should be shared more equally with AI. Because for the first time, it won't be just the few who have the most who can get something. We'll democratize more broadly, and that's what we're setting out to do, both at Rainmaker and me personally.
No, absolutely, Joe. Thank you for, first of all, calming the fear inside me that I'm going to become a pet one day to a robot. I was thinking what kind of pet I want to be. I was like, kind of pet human dog thing. I don't know. Anyway, now I was also hallucinating in my mind on that fact. Yeah, Joe, so before we get into your financial and tax management discussion that we should have in this podcast, we'd love to ask you a fun question, right? To kind of break the ice, even though as EY alums, we probably don't find financial tax manager that, right? But other guests we have was like, better talk about this. Here's the fun question, right? So just any answer is fine, of course. So one day, a rocket ship landed in front of your house. Inside the rocket ship contains a treasure chest which contains $1 billion in cash. You have 1 month to spend that money on 3 things you want to buy. What would that be? You're not allowed, after 1 month, that money disappears completely, which means you can't do a thing where you just keep it in a bank and earn interest, for example, right? I'm not a boring answer like that. So anything you want to do, ever fantasize about, if $1 billion ever hit your doorstep, let's hear it.
Yeah, I think that I would do 3 things with it. Number one, I would use a third of it to improve the high school system in the United States. I'd make technology more available to people who want to get a high school diploma because education is a gift for life. I would find all of the small 503Cs who have a really hard time fundraising. I actually know that personally because my 2 daughters work at, not-for-profits, and they're always worried about fundraising. And so I'd find the smallest ones and give them a third of the money. And then the other third is that I would invest in entrepreneurs who want to improve the lives of the collective rather than the individual people making a lot of money. So predominantly, it would be putting it to work to help advance, human lives in a great way.
Yeah, Joe, that was the fastest I ever seen anyone answer that question, by the way. So you really have thought about this previously before the podcast, right? I was like, wow, you were direct, you know exactly how to allocate that money, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and get it taken care of. So I actually really hope that rocket ship land in front of your door one of these days.
Me too.
Right? Seems like we're going to have a lot of...
And literally, I wouldn't take any of it. I have had financial success. I walked away from it quite a few times. That the money is not, it's necessary to buy food and all that. But really, for the most part, I think it should be an enabler of a much more, equanimous kind of society where we can all feel the benefits of this world of abundance that we live in. So I don't need anything, I humor myself every day anyway, Alan. So I'm the only energy system I need. I don't need
absolutely
to help me there.
Energetic and a very terrible CEO here. Of course. So now to talk about financial tax management. So here at Profit Powerhouse, we really believe that the driver of a long and successful business is great bookkeeping and tax management. Right?
Yeah.
So with that belief, we would love to guests that we have on the show. How do you approach managing the financial side of your business?
I think that it's sort of so interesting. I'm really glad you asked this question because if you join early stage companies, people don't actually understand the depth of and the importance of finance day one, literally day one. Both building a model for how the business would operate, having integrity in the way payments and money flows, having an understanding across all of the parties about how cash gets used, how we recognize people in terms of how we pay them. And so I'm always sort of told oh yeah, but we have an accounting, person doing, I'm like, no. Accounting and finance are not exactly the same thing.
Right.
And tax and cash. And so it's bringing a sophisticated mindset early. It doesn't mean you have to spend tons of money to do that. It's just it's as important as a fundamental good technology architecture as a good financial architecture. If a public company did anything of value, it's about having strong financial architecture, right? We both learned this at E&Y. Integrity, predictability, understanding, right? All these things matter to successful long-term businesses. If you don't understand where the money is moving, then you probably don't know what's happening in your business. So a very, very big priority for me, weekly reporting, having someone who's qualified to do the work, whether it's a partner like you or someone on staff. It's never too early to get your financial house in order.
See, I knew, Joe, that you right away get it, right? Get this conversation and why it's so important to educate listeners out there about financial management, right? Because a lot of times what I encounter is people wait way too long, right? Well, they go 3-4 years into their business. Then they come to me. It's like, hey, I heard her send me a letter. I don't know what's going on. They say I owe them $120,000 back taxes. I was like, did you file taxes? No. Longest no you ever heard, right? I'm like, yeah, let's start there. Right. And then there's just so much work to unwind, right? And then you're just like, really, is it really this much expensive to do it? It's like, yeah, if you have taken care of it day one, maybe listen to Joe talk about this part, you wouldn't be in this mess right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of companies just don't understand that. They just focus on grow, but they don't take care of the compliance end of it, right? To make sure that they're long lasting and no get in tax troubles.
You got to build a product and a company. Okay. So you have to have the same fundamental foundation of principles of integrity and architecture in both of them. And they're both known. These are not secrets. We know how to build good tech infrastructure, right? You wouldn't want all your data compromised. You wouldn't want to not be able to scale. You wouldn't want to be able to have the right response times, and the same on your finances, right? You have to have the money. You have to understand where it is. Like, you can't run the business without it. Even if you are burning cash on a monthly basis, that's okay. You just need to understand that. You have to know what your target gross margin is. If you're going to go pitch an investor, you better be able to answer their questions. They're going to ask you things like cost to acquire a customer. What's your, annual contract value that you're expecting? What's your lifetime value? What's your gross margin? What's your
Like,
monthly burn?
what's your burn rate, right? Yeah,
All
you
these
have to know
things
that.
if you know that, it will change the kind of conversation you have with an investor. Anticipate it. Tell them up front, right? Once you show that kind of credibility and that insight into how the business runs, and then show the product, people will be much more comfortable thinking about you as a person that they would put money into.
Yeah, I have clients that's like, hey, I just signed a letter of intent. They're doing due diligence now. They need to look at my numbers. I'm like, okay, do you have any like on Post-it notes? So I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is the time to sell if that's the answer, right? Like, you have no idea what your company's worth. You have no idea your valuation. You have no idea what they're going to discover because you have things all over the place, right? You haven't established any kind of chart of accounts or anything like that. It's just, you're not ready. You're just not at a point where you're ready to sell. Like, if you did, they'll probably throw you into the hanger. Like, they'll probably undercut you so much, just throw a random number at you. You're like, yeah, sounds good. You know?
I
Yeah,
start a data room when I start the company, right? The data room are the artifacts that you would need to share with any lender, any potential investor, any board member, so they would see the financials of the company, right? In a secure place. It's hard to assemble a data room later, and it's very expensive. But when you start building it from day one, it is the history of the company. It shows the progression. It shows you understand. That's who people want to invest in, right? These are not hard concepts. And if you don't know how to do that, then talk to Alan. Like, this is, like, there are people who can help. I just happen to both have the background from E&Y and have done this many times, but you learn that those things matter. They're not sort of like afterthoughts.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we have so many cases of clients that didn't know about that and then got the education later on, right? So very, very insightful here, Joe. And yeah, listen to Joe, guys. Start on day one. Don't delay, right? Honestly, right? Find someone to understand your industry and what you really need. Cool. So Joe, appreciate that insight. Yeah, kind of what's next for you and your business? I know you have a very huge critical update upcoming, right? What do the artists need to take away from that? Like, what are the new feature set that they should expect?
So this November release, which is what now? I don't know. It depends on when this comes out, but let's say it's a month away, or so. That is, we're going to show this end-to-end autonomous selling process working, scheduling, payment, end-to-end without a person. So that is, we've been working on it diligently. We're on track. We're thrilled and excited. We've signed up of our early adopter program. We got about 75% of the customers already waiting for this release. So that's our big release. And then, we got so much to keep going on into next year. We just relaunched our website with some new language to get people to understand. And we're doing a lot more storytelling because this is different. I don't think anyone ever imagined. It took 10 years to not get to autonomous driving. We didn't get there yet. We're going to make it to autonomous selling way before autonomous driving ever comes true. And, maybe it's our timing, maybe it's the dynamics of it, but it is one of the big ideas that we think will really generate a deeper level of interest in what AI can do. And so we're really excited about that.
Yeah, the FSD of AI agent, right, and AI selling, right?
Exactly.
And I was thinking about how the cycle work, right? You essentially can put your own product to the test, right? As far as like Rainmaker selling Rainmaker, right?
Yep.
It's like, how well am I representing my own company?
Yes.
And then that's like a testimonial in itself, in a way.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do a lot of live demos with our prospects and some of our current customers, and they're like, wow. Usually we get like, wow, and then another wow, and it's only getting better all the time, because this thing that's really interesting is, humans are really good at this. If we're curious, we learn more. and we learn more, and we can then build on top of that. And the AI does that as well. It just does it faster and against a larger data set. And so this recursive learning that we're going through, it's amazing. I can't even imagine what it'll be like in a year because it's learning so fast already. So yeah, I think, like, I feel really honored that I got to work on this. This was, really came out of our whole team has been focused on selling for most of our career. And we kept thinking that CRM wasn't about selling. It was about customer relationship management. And then there's the lead management, and the piece in the middle was always sort of left to random sort of who knows what. So yeah, it's fun to get to do that. That's what's coming up in November for us. And I'll just stay tuned. There's a lot more coming next year. I never am short of dreaming up the next phase, whether in my personal life, writing the next book, or building the next set of features, or writing the next paper. So yeah, we're going to keep doing more.
That's super exciting. Even for myself, like I run a small business of an accounting firm, right? We don't really have a separate sales team, right? I'm basically the face of it, right? When we go on sales, it's like if I can duplicate myself or clone myself, and we're talking about we can pick up so many more leads so much faster, right?
We can do
So
that.
I'm super excited about the development of this. Honestly, just my own selfish needs.
Yeah.
Joe, we're wrapping up here. We're at the final advice, right? If you can give one piece of advice to someone just starting the entrepreneurial journey, what would it be? Simple steps, 1, 2, or 3, something to get them off the couch and say, you know what? I can be the next Joe in this world.
This one might not feel like the typical advice, but to me, it is, what you define as your purpose will create a vision. And from that vision, you have to have confidence in who you are and what you're doing. Like, don't listen to the noise around you. Don't listen to the naysayers. The innovators throughout history have driven their vision even when there's a lot of doubt, even when it gets hard. Just keep true to it. Because if you have a really deep purpose and why you're doing something, then everything will fit and make sense into that. The second easy one always is surround yourself with people who have the same value system. It's not always just like 5 best people, same value system, because you don't want to be debating values. You would know this very well, Alan. Like, if someone doesn't have financial integrity, don't hang around with them, like it's really important. So the value system. And then, our third core value is positivity. Everyone sort of chuckles at us. We're just a positive group. Positivity is different than optimism. Like, we always have hope for the future too. Positivity is like, let's enjoy this journey.
Yeah. And it's contagious, right? You're positive. Right. I get positive.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what we do. That's what I would tell you. Like, make your life the life you want it to be. That is up to us. The choices that we make are the life we create. It's what I found out. It might have taken me a little longer than everyone else. I hope everyone else realizes that is the opportunity. And, in America, we allow that more than almost anywhere in the world. And so lean into it. It's, the ride is just incredible. And I'm not sure I could define better right now. This is just amazing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Joe, so to recap, don't listen to naysayers. Surround yourself with the people that share the same value system with yourself, right? Stay positive, right? If you don't stay positive, no one else is going to do it for you, right? 100%, 100%. Joe, this has been absolutely insightful, and it's just so clear-cut why this is such a pain point in today's small and medium marketplace, right? So hopefully for all the businesses out there that are like light bulb moments coming on saying, yeah, I need this for my business. Why didn't I think of this earlier? They're finding ways to reach out to Joe, which we're going to provide in our show notes below. But is there a final a shout out promo you want to add before we sign off here, Joe?
Yeah, if you want to sign up for our early adopter program, we have a special pricing that's going on for the November launch. We still have room for about 10 more customers in there. So we would love anyone who wants to venture into the world of autonomous selling. You can always email me at joe@rainmaker.ai. I know Alan will put some contact information. But yeah, reach out. We'll get you in the early adopter program, and we would love to have you.
Yep, you heard it here first. Joe is offering you exclusive spot, right, to the early adopter program. So if you want to see firsthand how incredible the technology that Joe and the Rainmaker team has built here today, don't hesitate. Make sure you click the link in my show notes. Joe, it's been great having you on the show. I can't wait to see what happens in a year's time. technology will be so much different. AI is going to be so much more advanced. So if you're up for it, I'd love to welcome you back in a year, and we can explore the explosion of AI and sales agents and in that level.
Oh, that'll be fun, Alan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Joe, thank you for being on. And everyone out there listening, if you have any questions or comments, please drop us a note below. Otherwise, Alan out.